Boy, my favorite thing about photography is probably the fact that it's something creative and also the ability to be out hiking or physical or, experiencing the outdoors at the same time. So kind of the marriage, I guess, of all that.
Sean Bagshaw, thank you for joining me for this first talk. Yeah, the whole idea behind this is really just sort of talking to other creatives that have been in the professional space, obviously the creative space and artistic space, just to kind of glean some knowledge, advice, what to do, what not to do, just interesting stories about your life and how others can kind of make sense of it all themselves and see some familiarity with it. So thanks for coming on.
Well, glad to be here. I love it. It's gonna be fun.
So we've known each other for 15 years. I've seen your work, incredible landscape photographer, super helpful video landscape instructor online and in person, workshopper. I mean, the list goes on, and it's probably like for yourself, I've known you for a while, you're like, oh, I'm just making it work. I'm just doing stuff. But yeah, give me a little insight. Tell me a little bit about your journey. I know it's probably a long one, but like in the nutshell, what got you from there to sitting at a table with a guy?
Well, I think in terms of, it's funny, this word creator now to me, that's that feels like a new word. I know it's not new anymore, but I was in college in the late 80s. I think I graduated high school in 1986, so okay. ancient times. And went to college, so the late 80s and into the early 90s were my college years.
What'd you study?
So I was a science major, got a biology and chemistry degree.
Cool.
Then didn't know what I was gonna do with biology or chemistry, so then decided, I think teaching sounds cool. I'd love to be a science teacher, kind of a Bill Nye the Science Guy sort of character.
Oh yeah.
That was in my mind.
I could totally see it. I could totally see it.
So in terms of getting more serious about photography and really kind of involving myself in it in a serious way, well, it was probably maybe the mid 1990s, and I was doing a lot of adventuring and just wanted to photograph those adventures, rock climbing, mountaineering, backpacking, just going out in the wilderness.
You definitely have the explorer adventure bug alongside some creativity, right?
Exactly. That's the, in fact, and that remains to this day. That's the main thing. It's always been the go out on an adventure first and then doing things while I'm out in the landscape adventuring.
Yeah.
And then at some point, photography just became a part of those adventures.
Right.
So it wasn't the other way around. It wasn't like, oh, I want to do photography, so I guess I better learn how to go hike up into the mountains because I need to do photography. It was like, I'm going in the mountains, and while I'm here, if I have a camera along, I'll snap some photos.
Yeah. Did you ever find in those moments, obviously, I think those who would ever even click on watching this episode probably obviously know your work as the landscape photographer, especially when it comes to like the Northwest and probably most of the United States. It's like, he's the guy. And I know you're very humble. You're very humble. But I think there's some truth behind that, and it's cool because I know I didn't know that about you, and I see this sort of end product. It's beautiful landscapes, sunrises, beautiful places, seasonal, all these sort of things, but it's cool. It's kind of like two things really did kind of come together.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's maybe one of the things that differentiates me a little bit from some of my colleagues and people, friends of mine who are amazing landscape photographers. And I know some of them who are much more committed to the kind of the pure photography end of it. And they endure things. Everyone enjoys being out, but they endure going out into the wilderness driven by the photography.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the case for me, but I would say, the difference between me and a lot of them is that I'm going out whether I have a camera or not. Without the camera, I think a lot of them like, oh, I'm not going to go out and sleep in the snow unless I'm out there to take photos.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'll go sleep in the snow without a camera.
Right. There's exactly, and there's sort of like means to an end. And it's funny. I think once we started working together, and obviously the inspiration was there because I saw the work and I was like, man, I want to do that, right? Which I ironically kind of then steered into what others probably said the same thing. Like they see the sort of end product or means to an end of like, wow, I want to go out and take beautiful sunrise photos, and maybe some of that might be there too. We go on adventures, family trips, I don't know, whatever it ends up being.
I was going to say, I think some of the people that I've had the opportunity to get to know and work with over the years, I think some of the ones that I really admire, I would say their photos surpass mine, and I know people that do such amazing work photographically, and that's in a large part because they are so focused on the photography. Like, I'm here to go out and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the photo that I have envisioned in my mind.
Right.
For example, one person way back, I heard this story way back, but Mark Adamus is a photographer who, we kind of came up a similar time, but I always really looked to him and his photos were incredible. But early on, he told this story about going up on this mountain near Mount Hood to get this photo. And it was like an 8-hour snowshoe to get there and camping out in the snow so you could be there at sunrise. And he did that 23 times before he got the photo that he was going for. And I never, I've never been that committed to like a photograph that I go there one time and I either got something or I didn't.
Cool.
And that's where I think a lot of people who are in it strictly for the photography like that have photos that I think far surpass anything I've ever accomplished because of that drive, where I'm more like, I'm out here and if something lines up, great. But am I going to come back 23 times? Probably not.
Probably not. And maybe that's, there's something to be said. I know for myself in some capacity, I definitely have this balance of like OCD and ADD where I'm like, I would do the same. I'm like, I'm going to like, it's either there or it's not. Or it'll be something to the effect of, this vision that I have in my head, I want to see to come to completion. Right. And you mentioned something earlier at the very beginning, like you've always kind of been a visual person. I find that pretty consistent with a lot of other people that I talk to. I know for myself it's the same. And when people ask me some of those questions, it's something that's like, I don't know, I've always kind of had that creative spark, whatever, there's a better word there. But photography or video, that was the language that translated easiest for me. Like, and maybe it is a little bit of that, I gotta get this thought or this emotion or this thing. And I know music can feel like that for a lot of people. You hear these things and you just kind of like let it flow. And what I also find really interesting is you were a science teacher. So I know when I met you, some of the really cool things that I learned along the way is, how the science and the geology or the geography really matter when it comes to sort of landscape photography. And some can kind of learn a little bit along the way. But do you feel like that might have had a little bit of an advantage where you understood just astrological changes or something? Some of it's kind of common sense to some capacity, but I know like Earth shadow. I mean, hey, if the light's flat or something's weird, like you can always grab an Earth shadow shot. There's sort of these little toolboxes things.
Absolutely.
So science, was sort of the primary to, obviously you were a science teacher before you were a photographer. So how did that arc happen? And do you still use it, I guess?
Thinking scientifically really played in a lot to photography, because I think that approach as a scientist, and I wasn't really a scientist, I was a science teacher, but I understand like scientific thinking and scientific process of like, there are things that can be known, like actual truths about how things work, and trying to find those out and then using those things. So I think those are the things, like there are things to be known about how cameras work and how lenses work and how
100%.
Optics work and all of those things. There are things to be known about weather patterns. There are things to be known about where the sun is going to rise and set at different times of the year, like you're talking about, or how angle of light or color of light or all of these things. You can know about those. So for me to use that approach of like, instead of just, like I guess in photography and other things in the world as well, but especially photography, I think you hear a lot of people saying things like rules that they heard somewhere.
Yeah.
Or they'll
Yeah.
ask me questions about like, well, like I heard that if you use these settings, or if you
Right.
this aperture is the right aperture to use in this situation, is that true? And I'm like, well, you could find that out if you think like a scientist.
Yeah.
Is like, why don't you test it?
Right.
And instead of
Right.
just assuming because you heard it somewhere, because as I went through that process, I think there were things I heard and I wondered, well, somebody says you should always do this or you should never do this in photography. And I'm like, well, why do they say that? And is there anything to it? So I'm gonna actually test that like a scientist. Like, let's take a bunch of photos at different apertures in this situation and see, is there anything to that rule? And a lot of times I would find out, no, it actually doesn't matter that much. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a difference, but reality, if you're so stuck on, you got to use this aperture for whatever scenario, I'm like, no, actually, that's not true. That's just a thing people say.
Right.
So I think those kinds of things, or the idea about, light and position and those kinds of things, noticing that.
There was one I remember thinking, and I use it pretty much consistently, especially if I'm out running, gunning. I think you mentioned like, hey, I don't think these were not your exact words, but it was like, when in doubt, try to shoot 90 degrees to the sun.
Sure.
Offer a little bit of ratio or whatever. Like, when in doubt, if you want something backlit, there's more things to kind of consider. Or obviously front light, you see something, you're like, God, why doesn't this look right? Like, well, turn it this way, now you have this different glow. I mean, there's sort of these different perspectives. So whenever, at least for myself, when I have client work, right, and it's like, hey, we want to shoot at 2:00. I mean, it's one of those like, okay, I can't.
Yeah.
This isn't golden hour.
Yeah.
It's winter. I don't know, whatever it is. Like, where's the sun? Okay, then we have to shoot in this general area.
Right.
So I love what you're kind of saying, and I think it is a problem solver, engineering, scientist sort of methodology behind a lot of it. That I think translates, and I think a lot of people probably might do some of that, but it's really funny how, yeah, you're right, it can be sort of stuck in this one, like, no, I'm going to control this one variable,
Right.
And you might not have the end product you're kind of anticipating or wanting. So how do you kind of manipulate or control those different variables, light or positioning or time of the year, aperture, and then you get into like, the editing side of stuff, which is a whole nother perspective. I mean, that's a lot to maintain. How much do you think of that same science methodology then when it comes to like the editing? How much of the editing or like the post-processing really is almost part of the narrative of a final photograph for yourself?
Well, it definitely is part of the narrative, the creative decisions and choices that you make in terms of how that final image is interpreted, and the mood of it, and the the contrast or the color or the whatever it is that you're trying to do. All of that's in there. But I think in terms of the editing is very similar to the actual photography in terms of that science kind of approach to it. Of, again, I heard lots of things, people saying, well, you always do this, use this, or don't make this adjustment because that'll ruin your photo.
Right.
And then my question was, well, does it?
Yeah.
I mean, they said, I heard people say that, but why are they saying that? And then I would try to dive into it and analyze it and test it. And let's try it this way, let's try it that way, and then compare.
Right.
And is there a difference? Oh, in this case, it does make a difference. So, and then that's some of my teaching would be like, this is a situation where I've found, like, when you do A, you get this result. When you do B, you get this result. So now you can choose, versus other times when I would say, you hear this thing that people say, but I've tested it, and honestly, I can't see the difference. So I don't know why people say that.
Yeah.
And then trying to encourage people, like, you can do this for yourself. If you have a question about, should I do this or should I do that? Try them both and compare.
Yeah.
Be a scientist.
Yeah. How do you stay inspired? What is your level of like inspiration? And I know it's sort of, your narrative has now changed a little bit where you're not shooting quite as much, or maybe you're kind of letting off the gas pedal as far as like integration into the craft itself, but I'm still seeing you as a very creative person, obviously. So how do you maintain this sense of like creativity, inspiration, and drive?
Yeah, I think it's that it goes back to my original motivation. Is still the same motivation. It hasn't changed, which is just going out and being out in the landscape and having adventures.
Yeah.
And then capturing some, if I decide to take a camera, then part of that adventure is recording it or capturing some of it in some way. And that's really all it's ever been. And I would say maybe there was a period of time when I felt like, okay, so, photography is my product and, this is my business. So I have to always be creating more product, more images, more content, whatever, because that's my job. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I never went out without the camera. There was a period there where it was like, if I'm out, the camera's there, and it's somewhat of a photography focus. Nowadays, it's kind of more back to how it was before I was doing the photography, where like I go out a lot. I'm always going out doing things like I always have, having those adventures. Now I don't feel the pressure to always bring my camera with me every time.
How does that feel? Does that feel kind of freeing, or does it feel like you're missing part of your like body?
It's both. It's both. In ways it is more freeing because it's like I can just go do this adventure, and I don't have to interrupt it with photography. Like, okay, stop. I'm going to stop and get the gear out and set up and take a photo.
Totally.
So in some ways it's freeing because I can just go ski or I can just go hike or whatever I'm doing. On the other hand, it feels like I'm missing something because so much for me in the experience and the enjoyment of those experiences comes from the photography element.
Yeah.
Because when I'm creating images around my adventures, that gives me another layer of the experience that's not there without it. It's like I actually do stop and slow down. Mm-hmm. I am paying attention more because I'm looking for things that are photo opportunities. And in that, even though I don't photograph everything, I see so much more because I'm looking for photos. Yeah. And I may, walk 10 miles and never take a photo, but if I'm looking for a photo as I walk that 10 miles, that's different than just looking at the ground in front of me as I'm walking
your
along.
Perception and who you're with, what you're doing. Yeah, and that's kind of cool. Sorry to jump on you. No, I just find that really inspiring equally to be like, probably for those who are seeking that like, okay, how do I get unstuck?
Yeah.
Or that, I feel lost, or I don't have that creative spark like I have anymore. I guess it's sort of semi-advice, but given yourself in this case, it's like you really, I feel like you have always been one of those people that really stays present in the decision and direction that you decide to go in. So if it is that like, hey, I'm going on a ski trip, you make it 120% a ski trip, and it's not an all in or all out.
Right.
But I do find that really fun where you're right. Hey, if you're in that gear of I'm shooting, you're gonna see and feel things rather than if you're not, and vice versa. So how do you, I guess now you've reached this point probably in your career where you feel like it is more of a linear decision. You kind of choose one or the other. Is that true? Or do you try to still mix?
I kind of do them all, and it really depends. I do try to, have a concept ahead of time of what kind of, what am I going to do? And a lot of it's a luxury, I guess, too, of having the option to go on a trip and choose. Am I going to take photos or am I not going to take photos? Yeah. Where I think for a lot of people out there where photography is a hobby, then you have those same choices. You don't have to take photos if it's your hobby. If it's something where it's your job, then, and I had that period of time where it's like, I don't have a choice. And in fact, I'm not even doing a ski trip because if I have X number of days to go somewhere where it's winter and mountains, well, I'm not skiing, I'm taking photos. So there was a big period of my life where that was the case, which was fun though, because I love that. That was worth doing.
Obviously, it was still very fulfilling.
So great. It was amazing to do that. But it was also, my choice was kind of made for me. Or now I'm kind of back into that period, like kind of more back when I was in college of, I'm going to go out as a hobby and go hiking or skiing or whatever it is. And then I'm thinking, okay, what gear am I taking with me? What kind of hike is this going to be? And one of those decisions is, do I want to take a camera with me? And do I want to involve that in that particular experience? And right now, it's some of both. And so for example, I just did this cycling trip in Japan, which was a cycling trip. I mean, the idea was to bike through 500 miles of Japan, which was great. Yeah. But I said, I am gonna bring a camera, but I have nothing that I'm trying to photograph. There's no place I have to be at any certain time. And in fact, I don't even want to be bogged down by all the gear, and I don't even want to really feel like the person I was traveling with to notice that I'm taking a photo. So I had one camera, one lens, no tripod, no extra gear, and it was just, I had the camera just strapped in the basket on the front of my bike, and it was literally like, I biked by so much stuff like, that's a photo, but we're moving. I don't want to be, yell, hey, let's stop. I got to take a photo. But there were cases where we would be stopped, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I could pull out the camera, take a photo, and didn't interrupt the trip at all. So that's, I guess, a way of I'm finding like how I can kind of meld the two, and it's like,
is that a hard transition?
Not for me, it's not.
No? That's awesome.
I mean, I have to give up, like, okay, I'm not gonna be in a place at sunrise with the big lens and the tripod and sit there for 3 hours waiting for the perfect light. I just have to give that up. That would have driven me nuts 15 years ago. Like, oh my God, how am I not here? And that sunrise just happened, and I couldn't take the photo. But now I'm like, no, I'm here. Whatever I get is what I get.
Yeah.
And if I ride, but we're not here for just photography. We're here for the cycling. Let's focus on that first.
Yeah. And it's still very fulfilling, and parts to be, you're not missing out when you're trying to spread yourself too thin at that point, because you're so fulfilled in the aspect of what you're trying to accomplish. And
when digital came along, kind of like right at the end of the 90s and into 2000, 2001, that's when digital cameras finally became a thing that like a regular person could purchase. They sucked, but you could afford one. And all of a sudden, even though the technology wasn't there yet, I could instantly see, like, for me, this makes sense to me. The digital capture, and then being able to take that digital information into Photoshop and then develop it myself. That was what was, I think, my block with photography before that, was my lack of being able to be involved in it, because I wasn't a darkroom black and white photographer developing my own stuff. So I had a camera, I was taking slide film, and then I'd send it off to the lab, and it would come back, and I was always disappointed.
Right.
And I didn't have the control over it that I wanted. Yeah. And so the digital kind of led me into that. So that's 90s, 2004 now, 4 years kind of into the digital thing. I just loved it so much. I was getting more and more passionate about doing photography seriously, and then thought, I wonder if there's any business involved in photography.
Was that really like, it actually like clicked to like, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but like, was it a real like click, or was it just something that like, did something spark? Did someone like say, hey, I want to buy that photograph or something, like, was there any of that like catalyst moment?
I think it was mostly that I just was enjoying it so much and loved it so much, and it was spending so much time doing it already. I was like, is there some way I could just, this is what I spend all of my time doing, which if you're gonna do that, unless you're independently wealthy, you also have to figure out how to make money at it. And that was kind of, I think my thinking was like, right now as I'm doing it kind of on my summers and weekends, but I want to do it all the time. Yeah. But I can't do it all the time unless it actually is gonna, pay for pay my income and support my family. Yeah. So that was the thinking there. Was like, if it was ever going to be that sort of full-time thing, that's what's going to have to happen. But I also didn't believe that would happen. Yeah. But I had a chance to try it for a year or two, just kind of play photographer. My wife was very understanding, and we had enough money to kind of let me kind of do that for a little while. And it was right when my kids were, babies. Okay. And so it also enabled me to kind of be a stay-at-home dad a little bit more. Cool. And all those things kind of met up, but I honestly thought, well, this will be a year or two of kind of playing photographer and being an at-home dad. Yeah. And then it just kept going. And then I eventually did figure out how to make a living doing it, and that enabled me to keep doing it. But I don't know how that happened, actually. It just worked out. If there was inspiration to glean from a lot of this stuff, I feel like, at least even for myself, being an intern and a good friend and
a creative, like-minded person, what would you say to people? What would you say if they were making a switch or feeling a little creatively stuck or looking for that next, maybe what's their new extension of their life or their evolution? I mean, you're a sage of good wisdom and knowledge and inspiration. What would you tell people?
Well, I think with anything, it really depends on what level that you're participating in anything. But if you're just looking for creative inspiration, just follow your passion, follow the thing that interests you, or that you think interests you. And if you are privileged enough to have time and availability and resources and mental bandwidth to be able to engage in that, then just do it. Just immerse yourself in it, for the process, for the act of participating in the thing that you're passionate about, whatever that is. I'm assuming maybe if people are listening to this, they're interested in photography, but it doesn't have to be photography, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's that kind of hobby, passion, pastime sort of idea. On the other hand, if you're someone who's trying to make a career out of a passion, a creative passion like that, then you have other constraints. You can't just do it in your free time and do it just purely for the enjoyment of it. If you're needing to create an income from it, then there is an element of what are people, what's of value to other people? What will they pay for? And then that somewhat ends up guiding you. And that may not always work out. I think, like for me, I was lucky that I was able to say, well, there's not a big market for my actual photos. I'm not going to be the next,
Totally.
Photographic artist in galleries in New York City and LA. I'm not that guy. But they do have an interest in learning from me. And it also happens that I like teaching. There's plenty of people that probably would have said, and I know some of these people that I'm really good at this. There's people that want to know how I do it. The last thing I want to do is tell other people how I do my thing.
Like, I'm not a public speaker. Can't I just lock up or whatever those things are. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
But on the other hand, I also, more like you, I think, had commercial clients who would come to me and say, hey, we like your photos. Could you create some photos for us? And I tried that and I found that wasn't my thing, which I think you're really good at that. You're really good at kind of engineering the whole, like, I've got these skills and creative abilities. And then when a client wants me to use that to create their thing, you can put all those puzzle pieces together, whereas I was horrible at that. And that was an avenue that I also could have gone down. Like, there's people who will pay me for this, but I'm not good at that.
Totally.
So I quickly kind of backed out of those jobs because I couldn't figure out how to be successful doing that.
Right. And truly, that's what I think is so inspiring behind it, because I think, at least maybe this is my own perception, like you said, like I was very client focused, and I think my instinct was something like, that's the way to make an income, right? There's obviously probably countless different ways creatively to make income based off your skill set and your time and what you're trying to accomplish, right? And I guess gleaning off that, my inspiration equally would be something that says, find what you're passionate about and try. And then really, like, I some of the best advice I was given by my grandfather years ago was like, hey, like, if you do what you love, like, the money's gonna come. Like, it might not be a lot, it might be a lot, it will happen. Like, especially you gotta put yourself out there, you gotta take some steps. This isn't a, like, create in your closet and hope that someone sees it, right? Like, what's the analogy? Like, if a tree falls. Yeah. So it's like, you gotta put some effort out there. You gotta put your foot.
Absolutely.
And so what I find really interesting is, like you said, I create best in a little bit of a sandbox. So gleaning from that idea, or stealing from the idea of the scientific method, if you will, like, okay, what are my variables and what am I, like, the end product is the subjectivity. I feel really good in that situation. So this has been awesome. Well, I have one last, this is kind of the silly one, just to get to know a little bit more about you. It's sort of our top 5 is what we do. And the top 5 is, ideally, if you can, in order. Top 5 X, fill in the blank, number 1 through number 5.
Okay.
So the top 5 today is gonna be we just got off the holidays. So holiday party buffet, your typical,
Okay.
and it can be a little untraditional or something that matters to you, but
Okay.
like you walk in and it's the table full of the traditional or whatever buffet stuff during
Okay.
the holidays. What's your top 5 go-to that you're gonna fill your plate?
Okay. So this is like, we're talking like
Hors
Thanksgiving,
d'oeuvres.
Christmas dinner sort of
yeah,
thing?
I wouldn't say dinner, but like, let's say it's a party, right? So you have like, and I'll throw a couple out there. Like, obviously you got some M&Ms.
Okay,
Probably
okay,
got
okay, I
like
gotcha, I
the
gotcha.
little sausages or whatever, right?
Okay.
Like, it might be based off your own experience, so you can like
Yep.
expand on that.
Okay. Top 5, starting, let's work backwards.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay,
You
towards,
can go
towards
yeah,
number
go-
1.
Yeah, you can go backwards, or you can start number 1 if it's easier that way.
Well, let's see.
And it's supposed
Yeah,
to be
maybe
on
it
the
is
spot.
easier going the other way. So I would say number 1 is anything kind of pizza based.
Okay.
So sometimes you'll even have like people at a party will just have full on pizza there. But other times there's things that are kind of like little pizza rolls or
Okay.
anything kind of, just a sucker for
Are you a
pizza.
guy that you'll go to like a standard slice choice? Like, because obviously you can't be the guy that steals, like, what is the joke where you grab the pizza box and you leave one piece? and
Yeah,
you
right.
walk away? Do you have like a standard pizza etiquette when you go in?
Oh man, at a party. Yeah, I mean, I think if it's just a standard buffet and it's like, not meant to be a whole meal, yeah, you just take one piece or
One slice.
one, yeah.
Do you like survey to see, okay, how many boxes are you doing the
yeah,
math?
yeah.
Like-
If there's a lineup of 10 pizzas,
Yeah.
and then I might skip everything else and just eat pizza.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
my 1 through 5. My
Yeah.
5, I'm gonna have 5 slices of pizza.
Yeah,
That's my
definitely
okay.
anything kind of pizza or pizza adjacent for sure.
Perfect. All right, so pizza number 1.
Yeah, then number 2, yeah, anything kind of chips and dip or crackers and cheese.
Yeah.
So go chips and dip. Number 3, crackers and cheese.
Crackers and cheese.
Sort of
okay.
thing. Then number 4, I probably, you know what? It's funny. I then start going towards veggies because I feel
Fair.
like by the time I've had
100%.
pizza and chips and crackers and cheese,
look like you
it's like
balanced
now like some broccoli or some carrots or something sounds probably like a smart idea.
Because everybody has that, like, yeah, the Costco plastic, like you got your tomatoes
Yeah,
and your cauliflower.
exactly, yeah.
Does anyone actually ever, do you eat the cauliflower? Are you the cauliflower picker?
the
one guy that does it?
I'll do raw broccoli.
Okay.
Raw cauliflower is probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like cauliflower cooked into things, but yeah,
Gotcha. You're more of a sashimi type broccoli guy.
yeah.
Just
Raw
straight.
broccoli's great, and other raw vegetables are great. And then probably for number 5, I'll go towards something desserty, and it's probably if there is a chocolate brownie,
Oh,
then that's it.
100%. Yeah, I'm easily, over all desserts, I'm definitely like brownie is my kryptonite.
Yeah.
I think most years instead of like cake, there's always a birthday brownie, like, dish or whatever. I think mine would be, it's funny because I would never really go pizza, but I'm a habitual snacker. So like I'll always go, it depends. Okay, in this situation, let's say it's a little more like potluck. So people are bringing their own things. I'm not gonna say I'm a picky eater, but I'm very like hesitant just in case. Because I don't want to like grab something and then not eat it. I feel like that's kind of rude in some capacity.
Right.
So I'll do pretzels like right out of the gate.
Okay.
So I'm like pretzels and or the chips and dip. I'll steal your chips and dip at 2.
All right.
3, I'm definitely going right in for desserts of some type.
Okay.
So I have this very weird theory that the M&Ms that you get at either the Christmas time or Easter taste better
Than regular.
and I don't know why. I've done a little bit of research. There's theory says that there is no recipe difference, but I guarantee you, if you try different, there is a different taste to it.
I love it.
So I'm always like, all right, I'm gonna get some M&Ms on that. I'll even like do the little Dixie cup.
Yeah.
Like so I'll have double fisting. I'll have my plate and that, and then I'm gonna go typically like what would that be? That's 3. 4, I'll be like what do they call them? It's the little sausages.
Oh yeah, little smokies. or
Smokies,
whatever.
thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll do
okay.
like a little smoky
Yeah.
/ I know I'm this. I'll go 5 here, like or a meatball.
Or meatball. Yeah.
Yes, and something like that, and that would be my top 5. So pretzels right out of the gate, chips and dip, holiday M&Ms,
Yep.
or close to,
Yeah.
right? Smokies and then meatball.
Okay.
That's
All
my
right.
top. Thanks, man. Well, I always appreciate chatting with you. Thanks
on,
for
Jared.
being the first.
Well,
Yeah. this
I'm
was
excited
awesome.
for this.
Cool.
I'm
Yeah,
excited for
obviously,
this.
yeah. And if you want to get in touch with Sean, check out Sean online, his Instagram, his website, YouTube. Am I missing anything?
I would say mainly the website these days, because I'm
Yeah.
even not engaging in
Yeah.
the social media
Look,
anymore.
good for you. How's that feel?
Feels great. Feels great.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again.
Cool, man.
Appreciate you. Thanks for watching.